I think that those of us who are alive today have an obligation to act, in part because we are acting to protect the opportunities that we have had to ensure that our children and grandchildren will have those same opportunities, if not better ones. If we don't act, we hand over to our children or our grandchildren an impoverished and more dangerous world. And by that I mean both biologically and financially. So biologically it will be impoverished because we're seeing massive loss of biodiversity now. We're seeing many species that are being pushed to the brink who will not be able to adapt quickly enough. They can't evolve quickly enough to adapt to climate change. And some species will be able to move, but many will not, because they're either already at the limits of their habitat or because they're blocked. They can't move because they're blocked by human development and habitat loss. But I think the thing that maybe is more worrisome, because it will affect absolutely everyone, is that we're all going to be a lot poorer. And we're seeing this already. We're having to spend very large amounts of money already in responding to the impacts of extreme weather events like Superstorm Sandy, or even the recent tornadoes and heavy rains in the southeast of the United States. We've already seen a number of extreme weather events, Hurricane Katrina, Superstorm Sandy, that have had very big financial consequences. The city of New York is estimating that they will have to spend tens of billions and possibly hundreds of billions of dollars in adaptation to sea level rise to protect Manhattan. If you think about the airports of this country, many of the largest airports in this country that serve major metropolitan areas, Seattle, Tacoma, San Francisco, San Diego, New York, Miami, Boston, these airports all sit at sea level. Anyone who's ever flown into San Francisco Airport or Logan or LaGuardia has seen it. You come down and there it is. I mean, there's the runway and there's the water. So this means that there are literally trillions of dollars of infrastructure in this country sitting right at sea level, and all of this infrastructure is vulnerable. A huge amounts of our military infrastructure, not just the Navy, but the Air Force too, huge amounts of military infrastructure, trillions of dollars, sits at sea level. And then cultural heritage, places like places like Key West, or places like Cape Cod, again, huge amounts of cultural heritage, huge amounts of valuable real estate, beautiful places like the Cape Cod National Seashore that sit at sea level. All of this is now at risk. And so what we're going to be looking at is a world where we're poorer in terms of natural beauty, if a place like Key West becomes uninhabitable, and a tremendous financial loss as we have to spend money dealing with the damage and shoring up vulnerable infrastructure. And I haven't even talked about agriculture.
Please.
Yeah, and then one other big thing, which I'm not an expert in, but other people have worked on, is the question of agriculture. So again, we've already seen the way droughts can cause billions of dollars in crop loss and damage, crop and livestock loss. And you see in California today already the economic impacts of this. When there's a major drought that causes massive loss of crops, the price of food goes up. But very often the price of food doesn't go up until a few months later as the consequences of the drought ramify through the system. So if you're a housewife in Cleveland, or a stockbroker in New York, or a coal miner in Kentucky, you might not even really notice that your price of bread went up 10 cents. And if you do, you probably won't realize that the reason it went up was because of a drought in California. But little by little, if we see extreme weather events doing damage to agriculture, we'll see the price of food rising as well. And so more of our money, more of our daily expenditure will go to basics like food, which for the last 100 years has been very, very inexpensive in the United States. So basic things like food, clothing, and shelter will become more expensive, and we'll have less money to spend on the fun things that make life, really enjoyable and really great.
And if you're living in a poor country,
then it's even worse, right? If you live in a poor country, so in the United States, if all of us had to spend 10% more money on food, for most of us that wouldn't be a catastrophe. But if you're a poor person and you're already living on the edge, or you're a poor country and your whole country is already on the edge, then that kind of relatively small difference can actually have a huge ramifying effect on you, your family, your community, and even potentially your country.